Hi everyone. I want to welcome you all to This is Teams. My name is Saranya Yogarajah and I'm a Senior Program Manager here at Microsoft from the Teams Customer Experience Group. And I'm here today to talk to you about Microsoft Teams and what you can do with Teams in your organization. Now, very quickly, just going through the agenda for our session for today, I'm going to start by actually defining what Teams is for those of you that may be new to Microsoft Teams. I also want to set expectations for today's call. Today's presentation is a high-level overview of what you can do with Microsoft Teams. It's not a detailed how-to or step-by-step walkthrough of what you can do within the Teams client. We actually do have another training offering that will provide those details for you. It's called Getting Started with Microsoft Teams, and I'll be chatting about that a little bit later on in our session today. I will instead be focusing on some key scenarios that many of you will be familiar with to see how Teams can help make your day-to-day easier and help you in terms of flexibility, collaboration, and communication at work. And of course, we will be going through a high-level overview of the client and a live demonstration to show you how Teams works in action to support these scenarios. I'll leave you with some additional resources and next steps. So if you do like what you see here today, there's several next steps that you can take to get going with Teams in your organization. And of course, there will be some time for Q&A. We are in a stream, so if you do have any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to write them in the chat window. We will try to get to as many questions as possible, but I see there are quite a few people on this call, and we may not get a chance to answer everyone's questions, but the resources that I provide to you at the end of this call, I'm sure you can follow up and find what you're looking for there as well. All right. So let's get started. What is Microsoft Teams? Well, Microsoft Teams is the hub for teamwork and collaboration in your organization. Teams brings together chats, meetings, calls, files, and tools into one centralized workspace, and it leverages the entire Office 365 suite to do so. So within the Teams platform, you can action all of those tasks and activities that you do on a day-to-day basis, all from one centralized area. Now, what does that actually mean? Think about what you do on a day-to-day basis at work. You chat with coworkers, you host and you attend meetings, you could place calls, you work on documents and other files, right? You may look at reports, work on various projects. Well, right now, if you think about it, you execute all of these activities in several different places. You have to manually go into each application, keep track of all of those conversations and documents and projects, and they may feel a little bit scattered about. Well, what Teams does is it consolidates all of those activities and actions into one central workspace, and it does that through simplification. So it's really eliminating that time, the energy, the frustration of having to go into those several different places to execute those tasks and projects that you're working on. So let's jump into our first scenario here, and I'm sure it's a scenario that many of you are familiar with. It's communicating with others. I think it's a fair statement to make that almost every individual in an organization, at one point or another, you have to communicate and collaborate with a fellow coworker or an employee or even someone in management, right? Well, think of those people that you interact with on a given day. Think of how you interact with them. You could possibly email them. You could call them. You could instant message them if you have an existing platform that supports instant messaging. You have to work on projects with them, maybe co-author, review and approve documents. You have to share other content like notes, reports, and presentations, right? Well, you can all probably relate to John here. He's in sales and communicating both internally with his coworkers and externally with partners and customers. That's crucial to his job. So whether it's sending that quick chat message to close that sales deal, or placing a phone call to talk about his sales pipeline, or sharing documents, without those interactions, John cannot get his work done, and I'm sure many of you can relate to him. So to show you how John would leverage Microsoft Teams to help him in communicating with others, I'm going to jump into the Teams platform right now and walk you through what folks like John and yourselves can do. So jumping into the Teams client here. And for those of you who are new to Microsoft Teams, I'm going to give you just a quick high-level orientation of the UI and where everything is. So on the left-hand side here, this left-hand menu, here are your menu options. If you're already coming from Skype for Business, this menu you'll notice scrolls across the top, but here it's just on the left-hand side. This menu actually dictates what you see in the content list, which is this middle pane right here, as well as the staging area, this large area here on the right-hand side. So when I say that this menu dictates what you see everywhere else, so say I scroll onto the chat, I see a completely different view in my content list and staging area. And that's the case with all of the other menu options as well, different views. And this is how you navigate between the menu items. Okay. If I wanted to start a new chat, I can just do so by clicking on this small pencil icon here up at the very top, and we will get to that in just a short little while. Searching. The searching is a robust feature in Teams. So if you're looking for a contact, a file, a keyword, just put it in the search field and Teams will search through all of those activities and actions and find what you're looking for. And up here in the upper right-hand corner, here is your profile and your settings. So you can set your profile picture, your presence, your notification settings. This is where you can personalize Teams to your liking. Okay. So again, very quick high-level orientation of the client here. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about some of the actions that we talked about in our scenario with John earlier in terms of communication. So how would we start a chat with someone? How would we share a file? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a chat with someone. And to do so, I'm going to just click on this pencil icon I mentioned earlier here. And I'm going to start typing in my coworker's name. I'm going to start typing in Alex because I want to start a chat with Alex here. And you'll notice that it recognizes his name. This is synced with Outlook in your organization, so you should see all the same contacts that you do in your organization. If your company has external access enabled, you can also chat with those that are external to your company. So John, for instance, he's in sales. So if he wants to talk to a customer, he can do so by typing in someone's email address. So here is my conversation with Alex, and of course, this is a one-to-one conversation, meaning this is a private conversation. If I wanted to add someone else to this chat, I can do so by clicking on the Add People button here, and then I can add another contact. So say I want to add Grady to this chat. Now take a look at what happens. This conversation with Grady and Alex is a brand new conversation because the previous conversation that I had with Alex was a private one. So Teams knows that if I'm adding a new contact, it's going to add it as a brand new conversation. Now, say I want to bring in a third person into this chat. I'm going to go back and click on the Add People button here. Now take a look at what happens. Teams knows that perhaps this is a conversation. It has details that I want to share with this newly added contact. And it actually asks me if I want to share this information with them. Do I want to share this chat history? So instead of having to reiterate the same information and bring everyone up to speed, I can just share that chat history with the newly added contact and they can read up on everything and catch up on their own time. This is a huge time saver here. So conversations with 3 or more contacts, you can share that chat history if you'd like. Okay. If I wanted to start a call, I can do so by clicking on the audio call or video call button up at the very top right-hand corner here. Alternatively, if I wanted to schedule a meeting, I can go to meetings and click on schedule a meeting in the content list here at the very bottom. And I can put in all my meeting details here. I can also do this from my Outlook calendar. Okay. Coming back to our chat, so a couple of fun new features with chat. You can add GIFs or memes to make it a little more conversation a little bit more lively or engaging, and you can like comments to reinforce a point. Okay, if I wanted to share a file, I can click on the Attach button, and I can share a document or files with my OneDrive or anywhere from my computer. Okay. So I want to take a moment here. I'm going to go back into my private conversation with Alex, and I want to talk to you a bit about persistent chat. This is a core feature of Microsoft Teams, and it really reinforces this notion of centralization. So think about those conversations that you may have today, even if it's in email or instant messenger or whatever the case. What happens when you need to go back to that conversation and you need to get a file, for instance, and that conversation happened 2-3 weeks ago? Well, you probably have to go searching for that conversation, right? And it might take you a while to find it. This is one of the key reasons why Teams is so useful. If I need to know what I said to someone a while ago, yesterday, 2, 3 weeks ago, I can just go into my conversation with them like I am with Alex here, and I'm able to see my entire conversation history with this contact. Every conversation I've had with them, it's not saved as a single instance, it's persistent. It keeps going. It documents my entire history. And say, we have a long conversation. I just need to find that one file that I shared with him 3 weeks ago. Well, I can just go to the Files tab right here and see exactly what files I've shared with Alex, all right here at my fingertips. Very useful feature. And this is just the basics of conversation and communication with Teams. But you can already tell about how consolidating all this information within one portal, it can benefit you in your day-to-day. So think about your day-to-day. Think about those conversations that you have. Think about how you need to communicate. Think about John and the time and energy saved from not having to jump to those several different applications and emails when it's all in one central space. Well, remember, John is also in sales, so he has the added requirement of having to do all of those actions. He has to do them on the go. So he needs mobile capabilities to ensure that business does not stop running when he's traveling between offices and between customer visits. So if you're like John and you have those times when you're stuck in traffic and you need to attend that meeting, or you're at the airport and you're traveling to that next meeting, but you just need to review that file, well, you and John can do all of those actions from your mobile. The Teams mobile client is just as robust as a desktop client. So you can chat, you can join a meeting, you can access all of those files directly from your mobile client. If you do have the Teams mobile today, I really encourage you to start using it. It's quite a robust platform. All right. So I want to now switch gears just a little bit and talk to you about another scenario that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. You have a project that you need to execute. Now, for this project, you probably have project resources like a project team. You have a schedule or a timeline. You have meetings to discuss those project details. And of course, you have project files that you have to work on with your coworkers. Now, what teams can do for projects is to create a workspace where all of the activities that you need to accomplish, they're housed in one location. Again, this notion of centralization. Now, I want to take Sally here as an example. Sally is on the marketing team, and she has a huge event that she needs to plan at the end of the quarter. So her planning has to include hosting a weekly call with her project team. She has to record meeting minutes and identify those action items, maybe in OneNote. She has to follow a project timeline, maybe in Excel or Project or Planner or some other project tracking tool. She has other project documents that she needs to work on, maybe PowerPoint decks and Word files. Well, without Team, if Sally's going to execute on all of these activities, she has to go into each of these applications separately, maybe having several different email threads and conversations that she has to track. And it's on her to ensure that everyone is on the same page because she's the project manager. It may feel like a huge burden for Sally to take all of this on and be accountable for all of it. So I'm going to jump back into the Teams client right now and show you exactly how Sally can create and run her project. Make sure everyone is on the same page as her by creating everything in one centralized team or one centralized channel. So coming back into the Teams client right now, and I'm going to focus this time on the Teams menu item. So here I am. Generally speaking, teams are a collection of people gathered to get something done within your organization, right? But what does that mean within the Teams app? Well, a team here is either people-based or project-based. So you can have a team set up for every business unit you have, for instance. You can have a sales team. You can have a marketing team. If you're coming from a smaller company, you can have just the one team, your entire organization, with several different channels or subsections within a team where all of the activity and action takes place. You can also have a team that's set up that is project-based. So say you have one large project involving several different stakeholders. Well, you can have a team set up on that project itself so everyone can collaborate on that specific initiative from that one area. So a couple of different ways to organize your teams, and it's very flexible depending on what your organization needs. And one way you can identify a team is with this fun little icon or avatar that represents that team, and you can change this image as you'd like. Okay, I mentioned channels a little earlier on. Channels are dedicated sections within a team to keep conversations organized by specific topics. So, for example, we have the sales team here, and within the sales team, we have several different channels. We have customers, we have fiscal year planning, we have a water cooler talk for some more casual chat. Whatever works for your organization, and you can customize the channels that you want on a given team. If you are a member of a team, you have access to all of that, all of the channels within that team, which includes access to all of the files, the conversations, and so on. So if you do want further details on teams and channels and what the client can do with them, we do have another training session I mentioned earlier called Getting Started with Microsoft Teams, and I encourage you to attend that session. We go into a little bit more in depth with teams and channels there. But right now, let's get back to our earlier scenario with Sally and how she needs to manage and execute her fiscal year end party. So Sally has a couple of ways that she can approach her project. She can create a team dedicated to her marketing team as a whole. And within that team, she can create a channel that's specific to her initiative or project. So as you can see here, we have marketing as a team and the fiscal year event planning as a channel. And within this channel, she can manage her entire project lifecycle end to end. She can add all the necessary stakeholders to this channel. So whatever she posts here, they can all view it and be on the same page as her. She can host meetings with everyone in this channel. So if I go to meetings and schedule a meeting, I can select the channel that I want to host the meeting in, right? She can, coming back to Teams here, she can share files. So all the project files that she wants to share with folks, she can share within this channel directly, and people can follow along with her on those documents as well. She can take meeting notes and assign action items. So whenever she has a meeting, the history, those follow-ups from those meetings are all well documented here. All very much simplifying that end-to-end project lifecycle within one specific channel. All right. Another approach that Sally can take is to create an entire team based off of her project as itself, and title the team Fiscal Year Event Planning as we have here. So all the channels that we include within this team, they are specific to her initiative. So the major topics that she needs to cover and she needs others to collaborate on, we've actually made them as channels within this Fiscal Year Event Planning team. All right, so a couple of different ways that Sally can approach organizing her project, and teams again can be people-based or project-based, and Sally can go with whatever is more convenient for her. Okay, so jumping back to my slide deck here, as you've noticed, once Sally has set up the appropriate team and channel and it's set up with the right people, the right content, there's no need for Sally to jump back and forth from email, from all of those different applications, because everything can be done from that one specific team or that one specific channel. It's really taking that entire project lifecycle from start to finish and making it easier for her to manage. Now, I know we've walked through a lot of the core feature of Teams, but I want to discuss with you some of the more advanced features and functionality. Teams is quite extensible, which means that you can integrate applications and add bots that work with your existing business processes. So for those of you that say, you know what, I have a lot of what I need in my organization already. I just need a way to bring it all together. Well, Microsoft Teams can do that for you. The Teams developer platform enables integrations to your existing business processes through publicly available APIs, and it can manage trusted applications for your organization. So if we think about Derek here, he's in IT, he's an IT manager, and he needs to ensure that his existing business tools, they're streamlined within his organization. He needs a way to consolidate everything and make his existing business processes more efficient. And Teams can do just that. He can tailor Teams to incorporate the relevant apps his organization uses and increase efficiency that way. So let me jump back into the Teams client and show you exactly how that would look in Teams. So jumping back into the client right now, and because this is a short demonstration, I've already pre-selected some applications that I've wanted to integrate already. And as you can see here, they've been added as a tab at the top of this channel. So for instance, if I click on expense trends, this is an Excel document that has been embedded as a tab within my Teams channel. And I can edit it directly within Teams, or I can open up Excel directly and edit from there. Okay. I have even integrated planner. So if I want to keep track of my project planning and my tasks in this channel, I can do so as well. So I don't have to drop what I'm doing and go into planner. I can just go into Teams and just uh, manage everything directly from here. Um, I can add all of these applications by clicking on the plus button. So each channel can have their customized content, and I can add whatever is relevant for that topic or initiative. Okay, and these are all the apps that I can integrate. So for instance, if I have a bunch of notes in my OneNote and I don't want to replace this with anything in Teams, I can add OneNote as a tab in a channel. And this is quite popular. So say I need easy access to a report, such as Power BI, and I'm annoyed that I always have to drop what I'm doing and I have to open up my browser and go to Power BI or my Power BI desktop client. I don't have to do that anymore. I can just integrate that report directly into the channel and I can just view it directly into Teams. This is a really robust and very valuable feature within Teams here. All right. Just coming back to my PowerPoint here. So as you can tell, we have a fair selection of apps that you can integrate into Teams. And of course, as I mentioned, you can customize your own through the developer platform. Once these are added into your channels, you'll notice this huge difference. You'll notice that you'll no longer be going into your browsers, going into these separate applications to access all of these tools because Teams has so conveniently placed everything in one place. So I know we've gone through quite a bit in a short amount of time. Before getting into any final Q&A, I'm going to leave you with some resources that may help you in your next step with Microsoft Teams. Of course, we have the main Teams product page at products.office.com. We also have aka.ms/success with Teams. This is a great resource if you're not sure where to start with implementing Teams. If you want to take a look at the Teams roadmap and what's coming up in terms of features and functionality, you can visit the Office 365 roadmap. And these links will be provided to you in a follow-up email after our training session is complete. Okay. And one final thing that I want to point out, so this session is just one of our live sessions that we've organized, as I've mentioned earlier. If you visit aka.ms/Teams live training, you can find the list of all the other training sessions that are going on. If you are an end user and you want to understand the step-by-step walkthrough of the Teams client, you can register for the Getting Started class there. If you're an IT pro or in adoption and change management and you currently have Skype for Business and want to understand how to upgrade to Microsoft Teams, the Upgrade 101 session is a great event for you to attend. All right. And finally, your feedback on what you thought about this session, that's very, very important to us. So please just take 2 to 3 minutes of your time to answer just a few questions to help us understand what you would like and help us build our future training sessions here. All right. And you can find that at aka.ms/thisIsTeamsFeedback. All right. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining here today. Again, if I didn't get to your question, I hope the resources that I provided you will assist you with next steps. And with that, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you in our next training session.